What's up, Taiwan? I'm Tiffany Wong with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's military might and innovation are on display in Taipei, where an expo is showing off the country's most advanced weapons and helping establish new partnerships with international allies. Alan Liu reports.
The M1A2T Abrams tank and the HIMARS rocket system. These big-ticket weapons are on display at the Taipei Aerospace and Defense Industry Exhibition. But this year's star attraction is the Chang'gong or Strongbow missile defense system, making its debut at this expo. Military officials say it can take out incoming ballistic missiles at ranges of 70 kilometers and fly higher than a U.S. Patriot missile.
目前有这套系统，就是我国首套自制的中高层，能够在更高层的空域针对敌的战术弹道飞弹来予以拦截。
But Taiwan is focused on more than missile defense. The country's Aerospace Industrial Development Corp is showcasing an indigenous counter-drone system, one that uses so-called soft-kill features, such as the jamming system to suppress incoming drones, as well as hard-kill options to shoot them down. Its developers say the system is part of Taiwan's push to build weapons without components from China and join the global so-called non-red supply chain.
我们做有飞鸿的解决方案，那其实这也是国防部非常看重的一个特点。那不论是我们的整个系统组成，还是我们的雷射元件，我们全部都是有飞鸿的解决方案。
Experts say working with international partners is key to Taiwan achieving this plan.
Taiwan is extraordinary in respect to innovation, absolutely. One of the leading countries in the world. But it doesn't know what it doesn't know, right? It has to go out in the world and establish relationships with countries that are directly working and or have experience in drones.
These relationships were on full display at the expo. Here, U.S.-made small unmanned vessels, drone boats, are meant to defend against attack from the sea. They're not only low cost, but when carrying warheads can pack a punch. And they can even carry surveillance gear for intelligence gathering missions.
Instead of acting like a fleet, what they do is they provide you with maritime domain awareness. That's very critical. Use these platforms as a tool to be able to perform different missions, and that's what gives you your asymmetric capability.
The defense exhibition also showcases Taiwan's first ever domestically built submarine, the Haikun, which is still undergoing sea trials and is scheduled for delivery in November. Fu Huahong and Ellen Lu for TaiwanPlus.
The cabinet has passed a series of draft amendments meant to prevent the sabotage of undersea cables. A key change to the law includes the authority to confiscate vessels. Irene Lin reports.
Undersea cables and pipelines, crucial to everyday life here in Taiwan, have been repeatedly damaged in recent years. There have been 2 cases this year of damage linked to China, with one of them becoming the first criminal case of its kind. Taiwan's government is taking the next step to address what it calls China's gray zone tactics. On Thursday, the cabinet passed a series of amendments to 7 existing infrastructure regulation laws, including communications, natural gas, water, and weather monitoring. They aim to protect the undersea cables and pipelines that connect these services to land and boost deterrence.
因为我们目前的电信管理法关于电信的海缆的保护本来就比较完整，那这里包含故意的情形，包含故意以后又有一些加重的类型，包含未遂犯的情形。那另外呢，也有过失犯的情形，所以所有想象得到的情形，通通都包含了。它唯一欠缺的是没收的制度。 没收的制度，所以呢，我们这一次呢，再把没收制度给它补齐。
Under the Telecommunications Management Act, perpetrators could be sentenced to up to 7 years in prison and be fined over $330,000 US. What the cabinet now wants is to apply those same punishments to other violations, plus allow authorities to confiscate the ships or tools used to damage the cables. All vessels sailing through the Taiwan Strait will be penalized if they refuse to identify themselves or if they operate in disguise. The port authorities would also ban loitering vessels from docking.
大家知道，禁止入港最重要的就是你没办法运补，你没办法整补，你要修船，你要进货，没有入港是做不到的。当你没有办法入港的时候，你就没有办法在外海长期的滞留。因此，这是一个非常有效的一个源头吓阻。
Taiwan's communication cables are especially vulnerable to damage. Of 24 existing cables, 10 are domestic, which have been the main target of sabotage in all confirmed cases, and 14 are international. The number of damaged undersea cables connecting Taiwan's main island to outlying islands reached a record 12 cases in 2023, and one expert warns of unreported cases.
这个具体的数字呢，事实上会更高哈，因为海缆的这个断裂，或是说它需要这个整修，事实上是属于营业秘密哈，相关这个电缆公司的营业秘密，所以我们在这个新闻上看到的数字是远低于这个实际这个可能有意外或者说人为破坏的这个数字哈。
One nonprofit group says instead of punishment, more can be done to alert authorities at sea.
可以奠定一个高敏感区域的水域，提高这整个监控机制，强化横向的管理。譬如说，当它有船舶接近这个高敏感区域的时候，我们是不是直接透过这个无线电天通报？那我们防卫的机制就可以提前开始运作。譬如说海巡甚至于海军在外海就可以开始，如果在临近海军巡航的区域呢，就可以发出一些预警的措施。
The cabinet's draft will need the legislature's approval before it can become law. But as tensions remain high in the Taiwan Strait, any more interference with these cables may lead to further escalation. Eason Pan and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with China, says its ultimate goal is to maintain the status quo in the Taiwan Strait.
我们的目的是要维持台海的和平现状。他以为说台湾人民要维持现状就是在搞台独，但是我们的看法不是这样。
The comment comes in response to remarks by China's defense minister at the opening of Beijing's Xiangshan Security Forum. Dong Jun said China's military would be a force to bring Taiwan under China's control, which he says is a key part of the post-World War II international order.
中国人民解放军始终是捍卫祖国统一、无坚不摧的强大力量。绝不允许任何台独分裂图谋得逞。我们随时准备着挫败任何外部的武力干涉。
China claims Taiwan as its territory and has threatened to take it by force if necessary. Taiwan's government rejects those claims. Taiwan's central bank has kept key interest rates unchanged as it waits to see the impact of U.S. tariffs on its exports. As iQIYI reports, it comes after the U.S. Fed cut rates for the first time since December.
Taiwan's stock market surged to a new high on Thursday amid global optimism over the U.S. shift to a more growth-friendly monetary policy, with the central bank keeping key interest rates unchanged.
这个跟我们市场的预期都是一样的啦。那为什么呢？就是因为我们通膨啊，都还是控制在2% 以下。
The central bank has now kept its key interest rate at 2% for 6 straight quarters, saying it's taken a cautious approach amid global economic uncertainty. Policymakers have been monitoring the impact of U.S. tariffs on Taiwanese exports after Washington placed a 20% levy on goods from the country. Thursday's announcement comes after the U.S. Federal Reserve cut its key interest rate to a target range of 4.25%.
In support of our goals and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a 0.25 percentage point.
The Fed's cut is the first since last December, with officials signaling that they will continue to slowly lower borrowing costs through the rest of this year. Analysts say the challenges has been finding a balance. Lowering rates too quickly could drive prices up, but keeping them too high risks driving unemployment.
It is a risk management cut, but at the same time, because the Fed is likely to be cutting rates again in October and December, it's an effort to put a floor underneath a cooling job market and thereby reduce the risk of recession.
But here in Taiwan, even with interest rates unchanged, the central bank says it's projecting growth of just over 4.5% this year, with slower growth next year as tariff impacts are felt more strongly. Joseph Vu, NIT for TaiwanPlus.
As U.S. President Donald Trump makes a state visit to the UK, U.S. tech companies have announced a flood of investment into the country, including in AI. John Van Trieste has this report.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Britain's King Charles III enter a hall at Windsor Castle where a lavish banquet awaits. Protests against Trump's second state visit to the UK haven't made a dent in a day full of pomp and gravitas, with Trump and Charles stressing the close bond their countries share.
We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry, and destiny. We're like two notes in one chord or two verses of the same poem, each beautiful on its own, but really meant to be played together.
So in renewing our bond tonight, we do so with unshakable trust in our friendship and in our shared commitment to independence and liberty.
But amid this lavish reception, there's business to be done. The US and UK are signing a tech partnership with major investments in areas including AI. And during the trip, news has come out that a wave of US tech investment is heading for the UK, with $30 billion coming from Microsoft alone. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang and OpenAI's Sam Altman are in the UK too, and both companies will likely soon announce hefty investments into UK data centers. Huang is particularly optimistic about the prospects of AI in the UK.
Don't forget, this is the home of the origins of artificial intelligence, and some of the brightest minds in artificial intelligence are here. And so the expertise of creating artificial intelligence and creating and training large language models is deep here.
UK officials see a bright future ahead too, despite some concerns of how well the UK will be able to maintain so-called AI sovereignty given the prevalence of American tech.
This deal does what it says on the tin. We are gaining from this, not giving anything up. We are going to get the investment we need to create the infrastructure and from there absolutely turbocharge our economy.
And so new high-tech jobs could soon be arriving on British shores. Foreign policy differences between Washington and London remain, as do US tariffs on British products. But in tech at least, there are signs an old bond is holding. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Apple may be building a test production line for a new foldable iPhone in northern Taiwan, according to Nikkei Asia. The report says Apple has held talks with suppliers about a potential pilot line to prototype a foldable model, with mass production intended to shift to India. Nikkei's sources say the plan is not final. Apple is one of the few major phone makers without a foldable model and reportedly told suppliers the new design could boost iPhone sales. An earthquake rescue drill was held in New Taipei ahead of Natural Disaster Prevention Day on September 21st.
今天整个防灾日，第一个特色没有脚本，第二个配合中央的视察，我们早上接到命令以后，由现场出题目，那我们把这些状况做一个演练。
The drill simulates an 8.5 magnitude earthquake in the Ryukyu Trench on the east of Taiwan, with Xinjiang District in New Taipei suffering the most damage. U.S. experts were also on hand to observe and offer suggestions.
AIT 那边也有派员过来，所以他们有来协助我们看看我们这样的演练，除了在本土的各种演练、沿海的各项演练跟国外做接轨的时候，因为这一次国际队伍会进到这个在台湾这个本岛，所以在一些所谓的 跨国际的一个搜救队伍的认证的所谓的相关语言跟制度，大家有没有共同可以分享？
A nationwide disaster prevention drill will be held on Friday. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of New York Fashion Week, where top designers unveiled their spring 2026 collections. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.